Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. See, I know I have to have some sort of like adult onset ADHD at this point, because I started a few hours ago going through Linda Lane to put Linda Lane and 1112 and Linda Lane 4 and Banfeld and some security footage of what they're claiming is SV1, some stuff from WSU regarding SV1, to put like all of that together in the timelines, right? So that we can get everything together in video like we've been talking about doing. But then that led me to wondering about the silence and getting aggravated at the silence of 1112 and thinking about everything that's been going on over the past few years. And then going back to all of the stuff that we've heard from the Goncalveses. Sorry if it bothers you, but everything that has come out of them that is false has caused so big of an avalanche, so big of a domino effect, so big and jagged of a ripple that I can't help but think about it in almost everything that we do evidence-wise, because they've come out and tainted like almost everything, guys, okay? So in going and grabbing a clip I took from the live where we saw how it was literally like, what was it, 54 seconds, less than a minute, from Eric Gower pulling in at 156 with Maddie and Kaylee to what we believe is Peyton Rossi pulling in with Jack Jacor and his roommates. They literally got home at around the same time. And it made me think back to the 17-minute phone call that the Goncalveses and Olivia knew about but never said anything about, that we didn't find out about until a report regarding a later interview with Jack Jacor, where he was finally confronted with the 17-minute phone call he had with Kaylee. And it would have been at 2:26 that phone call would have taken place. We figured all of that out in the last live that we did. So then I started thinking, okay, well, this footage was also leaked, and he used this 1112 footage at this time frame to say that Linda Lane's audio was wrong. So it brought me back to Brett Norton, which automatically brought me back to Dot. So then I stopped and I started getting some clips together to prove further that Dot was fake. And I'm not going to spoil the new information that I've actually found that I didn't know about before from Brett Norton's mouth herself. I'll be posting that separately, maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow. And right now it is 2:30-ish on Sunday, 12/21. So yeah, probably tomorrow. But in doing that and going and listening to the dates in which Brett Norton actually leaked the footage, thinking about the messages between her and Steve Goncalves, thinking back to him admitting he had leaked footage that claimed that he saw where the car parked and people were going to wonder what window he was looking at, it led me to a video that I did on that exact same interview back on December 18th, 2023. So in going in and listening to all the different clips I used in that reaction video, now that it's been 2 years and there's so much truth that's actually out, just knowing how extravagantly the lies were told angered me. So I did a new reaction to the clips with the new information. And that's what this video is. So I'm going to stop ranting now so I can get on to the rant that matters. And then I'll be back at the end.
I have leaked footage. I've seen things that they may have not seen.
Oh, I have leaked footage, and the people that basically leaked me this footage are telling me we have nothing to worry about. That is all of the gag orders being violated at one time. In my opinion, massive, massive gag order violation. So he's going to either have to come out and retract that statement and actually validate and verify who's telling him this information and what footage he's actually talking about that he has seen and calling leaked footage, or there's going to be an internal investigation that could cause problems here. Now look at the date on that. And it turns out he really did have some sort of leaked footage. And here we are in the middle of a leaked investigation in this case that we still have no answers for, that's been going on since like the middle of the year. I said this on December 18th, 2023, that this was going to end up being an investigation that was going to cause issues. And look at where we are. Just noting that, that's all.
I've been told 100% the amount of stuff we have, Steve, relax. People have reached out to me, and some of those people have just said that if what I know is accurate, Steve, there's a massive amount of information.
It's really interesting going back and listening to these and seeing how much he was lying to the public. Because what is he out here screaming now? That they weren't telling them anything, that they had to go out and do their own investigation. We already have clocked more than I have fingers on my hand, things that the Goncalveses have come out and given information-wise to the public that was completely false. And not just things about their own child or things about Maddie that they, for some reason, felt the need to take responsibility for and talk about all the time like she was theirs, while completely discrediting the fact that Steve even has another daughter. Okay, if you know, you know. But also coming out and telling tall tales and false things about Xana and Ethan's timeline as well, and then taking no responsibility for it. And what else were we also told? We were told by Olivia, by Christy, by Steve, all in different times and in different interviews, that all the information that they had when they wrote their impact statements was false. So that morning, after actually finally speaking to the state, because the state hadn't been telling them anything at all, and they were mad about it, they had to rewrite their impact statements because everything they knew was incorrect. Why? Why? Why would Steve come out to News Nation, to all these big platforms, and pretend like the state was actually telling him what was up, and like they actually were giving him something to make him believe that everything was going in the right direction? This was 2 years ago. This is after the grand jury, when he actually started asking questions. Brett Norton and Steve Goncalves started speaking after the grand jury because all of a sudden Steve had questions about the Mad Greek. Someone reached out to Brat and said, hey, Steve has a bunch of questions. You're doing research into this. You two should connect, and bing, bada, boom. Now we have all the crazy shit. So being that this was an interview that took place in December of 2023, after the grand jury, after the questions, after the speedy trial was waived, after the preliminary was canceled, and after all the shit, he was still coming out to the media and being like, oh yeah, we have all this proof, and oh yeah, they're telling me all this shit. Where is it? Where is it, Steve? Because now you're saying something completely different. So why were you so comfortable coming out and lying to the public and making everyone believe things that were false? This is actually like making me more mad than I thought it would, to be honest.
They told us the ideal jury member was someone who had thousands of acres and had no time to watch TV. He was out on the farm. Well, I don't feel like that kind of guy is going to see the footage that I seen and not want to understand what was going on in the house. And a computer program is going to mean nothing to that farmer.
See, this still bothers me. This bothers me, and this bothers me, because I actually don't even know if this is true. Because I have to give this the exact same sentiment. We know that they are screaming that the state was not giving them any information. They had no knowledge about anything. Again, proving that the majority of what they came out here telling, to the public and to all the people that constantly give them thousands of dollars all the time over on their page wasn't actual, was not factual, was not accurate, was not correct. So when it comes to this statement, I don't know if that's what was really said to him or not, or if that's something that somebody else said to him that had nothing to do with the prosecutor's office. I honestly do not know. But we also know what was supposed to happen here. We know that they were trying to argue about terms that could be used for the DNA. And the fact is, this was so minuscule. This was such a little amount. You literally could pick this up by using a pin pad after someone. I'll put a link in the description box for where we went over the exact amounts, what they mean, how they have to manipulate it in order to even get a profile to begin with. We go in depth here on this channel, okay? I will have a link again in the description box for that live. It wasn't very long ago, maybe like a month or so ago. We went pretty deep down into the details, which is also a reminder that I need to personally and very directly address the man from Othram who came out during Comic-Con and said something like, yeah, I don't know why they try to act like they didn't have so much DNA. There was so much, oh my God, or whatever the frick he said. He lied. He lied. Straight the frick up, he lied, and he knows he lied. He has no information on the quantity or any of the calculations that were used when it comes to the source DNA. All he had was a amplified, manipulated vial that was handed to him by Blaker and Gamut. And we're still trying to get all the information there because there's discrepancies in that trip too. I'll put another link in the description box for that video. And let's not forget that now we're seeing in the ISP documents that the swab for the strap of the sheath was resubmitted. And we don't have any details as for why, what happened to the original, what's the details. We have no idea. I'm working on it. But they were also not going to be honest about the FBI calling them on 12/19. They were not going to be honest about the IGG. Again, Judge Hippler told the state and the defense to get together and create the narrative that they could sleep with that night. Those were his words, that they could sleep with that night about how the genealogy got to Kohberger and find someone who would take the stand and tell the story. And lo and behold, it was Brett Payne. And he also, at the same time this was going on, was no longer working for Moscow Police Department as of May of this year, and was going to be deputized in order to still take the stand. But he was going to still be taking the stand to tell a fabricated lie that was given to him by both the state and the damn defense. And they didn't want, from how it sounds like, anyone that was going to pay attention to technicalities, because they're not all into data. They're not all into computer stuff. But it's still a stupid comment, because these days, and yeah, this was 3 years ago, but 3 years is a blink of a freaking eye. Let's be so serious. These days, farmers have to be super smart. They have to be really up on technology. They have to read weather. They have to read the animals and how they're behaving. They have to read the crops. They have to be able to take samples of dirt. They have to test their seeds. They have to test the pH in their water. They have to test all the damn things that they use on the plants. You can't just be no dummy being a farmer. So I don't know what kind of comment or what the intention was behind the comment, but my sentiment now is the same that it was then. It was uncalled for, unnecessary, and to this day, I still just don't know where it actually came from. Did it come from him? Did it come from Shannon Gray? Did it actually come from the prosecution? Who knows anymore?
I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took. People are going to wonder what he was doing when he parks in certain locations for extended amount of time. What was he looking at? What windows was he peering into? Why did he pick that location to stop at? Why did he keep going back to these certain locations? I just know of the day that this happened and the footage that was given to me.
Okay, again, here we are. We are 2 years later, and we don't have any footage that shows Bryan Kohberger's car or a white vehicle that fits the description of SV1 stopping and parking freaking anywhere. We don't have any footage that shows anything in way of showing the actual home. There is nothing that shows 1122 King. Now, I've questioned this. A lot of people have questioned this, but I have done everything I possibly could in my little bitty person power that doesn't even live in Idaho to try to see if they could give us some sort of clarity on if there was footage that actually showed 1122. And I've done this in a way that has nothing to even do with Steve Goncalves is speaking about right here. Those of you that have been following along know that we go through all of the police reports, all of the court documents, all the hearings, all of the things. So when very specific verbiage was used in Brett Payne's report about his interview with the ridiculously ridiculous DoorDash driver Molly, which, you know, we're going to be having more videos come out about that whole situation too. In his report, his verbiage makes it seem as if he has viewed something that has allowed him to see Molly's SUV pulling in to the front parking lot of 1122 King Road. That's his wording. Seeing her getting out of the vehicle, watching as SV1, according to them, pulls in behind her as she is dropping off the DoorDash order. Now, I've asked very specifically for this again in FOIAs. I've spoken with them, but you guys have listened to the phone calls that I have recorded of them admitting to all the bullshit and just not caring, all of the excuses that they continuously make. They told me, as I gave them their own report, as I asked them to have Detective Blaker verify it, because he's the one who actually checked the report on all of the Moscow Police Department reports that came out, the 300 and technically like 15 of them, because the original narrative is pretty long. It's almost like 30 pages, but it counts as the first one. They all have the officer that wrote it and then someone who went behind them. Blaker is the one who went behind this report from Payne. So I asked, and I CC'd him myself for clarification and never got it. The only thing I was told is that I was wrong and that I must be talking about 1112. But as we know, 1112 points at 1119 and 1122 is behind it and to the left. So no, that's not what I was talking about. So not only do we have the Goncalveses telling us, again, that they saw the girls going inside, they know the girls took Murphy out, which is not the case. It's a whole different scenario. 1112 doesn't show the car stopping at 1122. 1112 only shows Eric Gower's vehicle pulling in right at 156. It doesn't even allow us, because of what they did to the freaking video, even hear them getting out of the vehicle, listening to the doors close, listening to them go across the parking lot and go into the house. We don't get to hear any of that. They silenced the entire thing. They made us pay more money, and then they silenced the entire thing. Considering that that's what we got from the police with redactions that they are quoting code for, which is bullshit, and this will be fought. This one will be fought. Steve Goncalves would have this from before the police messed with it, because he's been claiming to have had stuff since like the very beginning. And we know that there was a GoFundMe set up for them to have a PI. The Facebook page was originally put out there by the private investigator. Then there was a huge falling out between the two of them, and now the Goncalveses run the page. These private investigator people, these people that were, technically boots on the ground for them, had time to get this footage. Not only that, but we know that MPD did not even get this footage originally because they had issues getting it off the SD card. Their equipment was not compatible, which honestly, I'm having a lot of the same issues. I'll tell you guys right now, someone very close to the case forwarded me their link to this file that they were sent, because they got a link in an email the same day that we got ours on Friday the 19th, to see if theirs was also silenced. Theirs was also freaking silenced. Not only that, but they had something additional from a different portion, a different piece of evidence, and I'm having a hell of a time just trying to get it open. They are files that my system is not recognizing, video and like document type files, and I cannot open them, which is interesting. I'm working on it. I'm in discussions with this person and like letting them know that that's happening, but that's what's happening. I can't get these files open. So we're going to see what I can do with them. Considering the fact that Steve Goncalves would have gotten this and he would have heard the scream, he would have heard the doors open, maybe he would have heard the girls come out, they would not have seen any of this, unless, again, I'm being lied to by the Moscow Police Department about there being another angle that actually faces 1122 where you can see the parking lot area, and Steve Goncalves very well knows about it, and he's refusing to come out and be honest with the public. Even now. I don't know how anyone could be okay with the secrecy, no matter what side you're on. There's a lot of things that need to be answered for here. A lot.
There's a whole nother level of data being collected on people. Some of that will come out in this case.
Now, we can only assume what he's talking about here because of all of the very vast amount of information that's actually a part of this case. That's the crazy part. There's so much data, but it literally says nothing. We have stuff from Amazon clicks, things that you've just sort of like hovered over but not clicked on, crypto wallets, people's shopping receipts from TJ Maxx, if you order supplements online or not, if you are vegan or if you eat, both ways or whatever you want to freaking call it, or so say quote unquote normal. All of those things are probably what he's talking about. And yeah, social media stuff, things that are tracked, things that you look at, places that you go, we know all of that. But again, in all of that, what have they produced? Nothing of substance. And so many things that they originally produced, as all of those motions in limine were being filed and fought and everything was going back and forth, things were being chipped away. The defense was coming in and claiming, oh, but this actually isn't anything. They produced the exact same blank pieces of paper for all of these different ones when there's really nothing. And again, so many of them have discrepancies. And I know that I'm about to get into a rant about the DoorDash stuff because this is actually something I'm putting in at the end whenever I'm editing. But let's also remember TikTok. They told us in the PCA that 4:12 a.m. was the last time that Xana was on TikTok. What they actually submitted to the court that was supposed to be showed at trial, what the state actually submitted, shows 3:16 a.m. And again, that's not a time zone difference because now these documents are coming out and they're being put in Boise instead of in frickin' Moscow. The minutes are different too. This is also coming from wherever the base server would be, so the time wouldn't change any freaking way. It was done in Moscow. It doesn't matter that it's being submitted in Boise. The time zone doesn't change because of that. And again, the minutes are also off. So why are we having such a vast difference in time of when someone was actually alive or not? And why are they refusing to show us the actual receipts for any of it? It's because there's a reason they need to hide it. People really need to wake up. Man, this case makes me mad. There is so much data. There are so many expert witnesses. There are so many hands in the damn cookie jar, but no one can actually give us a straight up timeline. Again, for those who need to hear it, to this day, we do not know what time Xana and Ethan got back to 1122 King Road. To this day, we do not know what time the Sose DoorDash order was actually made. What we do know is that it was used as Xana's timeline for life, but at the end of the day, we ended up finding out what? That the state produced records, unsigned records, by the way. Thank you very much, Lucy Morningstar, for pointing that out again. Unsigned records from DoorDash claiming that the order actually came from Ethan's account, and there was no picture produced. The DoorDasher, after listening to the interviews, here's the summary of that situation. And I'm sure to a lot of you, it's a broken record, but let's be honest. Every time you hear it, you are just as shocked as you were on day one. Let's be so serious. It's that ridiculous. What we were told from the interview between Molly, the DoorDash driver, and the police that we have now reviewed in full here on this channel is that she was double dashing that night. Everything was coming from Jack in the Box. A friend of hers was hanging out in the Jack in the Box parking lot waiting for her to go back and forth all night. She took so long to get back to actually pick up the double dash that contained the order that is supposed to be for Xana that was actually ordered on Ethan's account that Jack in the Box thought that she just wasn't coming back at all. So they threw the food away. Meaning, once she finally, at who knows what freaking time, got back to Jack in the Box and they realized, oh, holy shit, she's alive. We threw the food away for no reason. We got to remake the whole order. There's no telling what time the order was placed. Okay? We have no freaking idea. On top of the fact that she gets there, we watch on camera her vehicle pull in. She's in the area for like ever. She's in the freaking area forever, hanging out in front of the house, acting like she doesn't know where she's supposed to be going. We see her walking on the 1112 cameras. She goes up to the top of the hill behind the house. She's looking down into the backyard. She sees the freaking sliding glass door. Her and her dog start walking around. She sees the tan sedan that's not Bryan Kohberger's vehicle with a reddish blonde-haired guy in it that, again, is not Bryan Kohberger. And again, it's not a white car driving not to where they can actually lock eyes on each other because they're not driving towards each other. She's walking and he's driving in the exact same direction down the hill back towards the corner where the freaking house parking lot is. There is no eye contact. It's the opposite of what we were told by Drunk Turkey and all of the people that came out and was like, oh my God, she's telling everyone she saw Bryan Kohberger and she parked right next to him and they looked right into each other's eyes and he didn't even notice her because he was blank staring. No, that part's the only part that's true. They didn't lock eyes. There was no eye contact and it wasn't him. It wasn't even the same color vehicle. Then she's claiming that she, with her dog, takes her car, goes back down, gets out of the vehicle with her dog in her arms, with her phone to take the photo, and with the food in her hands. This is in her freaking interview. Gets out the car, drops the food off at the door, takes a photo, and then gets in the car and leaves. We see her again coming into the neighborhood. We see her leaving the neighborhood. But what happens in between all of that? There's all these noises and all this loud stuff happening and Dylan Mortensen adding a contact to her phone at 3:51, not just 8 to 9 minutes before the DoorDash was put at the door. And to this day, again, no proof any of this had anything to do with Xana. No stomach contents information has been released in order to prove that she actually ate the food they're claiming that she ordered. They have not given us the actual order. We were just told by Molly that it was small, which could literally mean anything. We have no idea. There is so much secrecy and no proof of anything. And again, the state has stood up and told us they cannot put Bryan Kohberger in direct contact with 1122 King Road or its residents, still alive or not. They cannot put him in the area because the towers have such a vast range and there are so many people that live in that area. He could be anywhere. They can't prove anything. This came out of the lead prosecutor's mouth in front of the judge at the initial plea hearing where they changed it. How does this still make any sense? I don't understand what's going on. And I've been digging into this case for 3 years and it doesn't, again, matter how many times I repeat it. Every time I repeat it, on top of repeating everything else that's been going on, I know we're not crazy. We're not making shit up. This is really happening. It's interesting to go back and listen to the older stuff and see how comfortable he was telling us something that wasn't true. Because this behavior is the exact opposite of what he's out here claiming now. And this is the same behavior that he portrayed the entire time as he was out here giving false information to the public. Again, not only about Kaylee, not only about how she was found in the bed or how she wasn't, not only about if Xana's door was closed or if it wasn't. All of those things ended up changing a lot and causing a lot of speculation when we were already out here trying to wade through the other intruders into this case. Dot, the fake stories, anyone coming in claiming they knew information but refused to show any actual receipts for. There's been a lot of this in this case from the very beginning. And it's really disheartening when you realize just how much of it was actually put out there by one of the family members of the victims. And again, they behaved as if it was just their daughter's story. And we know that it's not, which makes it to me honestly even worse. I do have compassion for the fact that they lost their daughter. But I also sit back and say, Kaylee's story has not been told. No one is out here telling the truth. And in saying that, that goes for the rest of them. Xana's story has not been told. Maddie's story has not been told. Ethan's story has not been told. I mean, look at what we've uncovered going through the information about Ethan. There was a lot more information about him in the original reports that were written by Brett Payne. And through everything that was going on and all of the influence that his parents had and what was going on at the school and everything else that happened with this case and how they basically just acted like it did not serve them to know the facts. Their words, not mine. Let's just not even glance over the fact that they are twins now instead of triplets. That's absolutely insane to me. But when we've had all of these people coming out and being secretive about things and throwing information out there that really doesn't even have anything to do with anything, or trying to put a narrative out there that's not true, and people are chipped away from existence in the case the way that they watered down everything about Ethan, or a completely different story is thrown into the faces of the public about someone the way that the Goncalveses have done the entire time, you have to question why. And if there is no reason why, then you really have to just question where it's coming from. Because if they're doing this with no other motive other than their own attention seeking, then how is that okay? At the end of the day, we are here for the victims and the victims only. We're not here for the ones that have to actually live up to what is being said. We're not here for the ones who have to keep their reputations shiny, the ones who are still here to deal with the consequences of the truth. People really need to take a step back and realize the difference. It would really cause a lot less anguish and a lot less anger and a lot less confusion on the things that are said by people that can see both sides if people would actually realize where the divide really should be. And again, that's just my opinion. But let me know what you guys are thinking about all of this down in the comments. And I'll be going back through some older stuff, I think, and doing more reactions because we do, again, have facts that we need to put with the original rumors and see what truly was debunked and debunked rightfully, or maybe even things that were debunked that maybe I was wrong about. And as you guys know, if you've been here for a while, I have no problem saying when I'm wrong. I do the video and I take ownership of it, and then we change the opinion based on the facts that were found. That's how it should be. But again, let me know what you guys are thinking about this stuff down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.